2 to 3 and I.
This time I'll call to order the December 2, 2024 meeting, work session of the Clearwater City Council, and we'll move to item 2.1 on the agenda.
Approve the Second Amendment to contract for sale of city-owned vacant lands between the City of Clearwater and Habitat for Humanity.
Good afternoon, Dylan Mayo, Acting Housing Manager. Get the right one here. Tampa Bay Neighborhood Housing Services and Habitat for Humanity are under contract with the City of Clearwater to acquire 1454 MLK from the city and develop 24 townhomes to be owner-occupied. Earlier this year, the developer requested an extension to the purchase contract until December 31st, 2024, due to unforeseen pre-development challenges, which was approved by council. Due to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, the timeline has yet again been delayed. The buyer has informed the city staff that their funding requests for penny funds will be presented to the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners in January of 2025, or at least they're shooting for that date. The buyer has requested an extension to honor before April 30th, 2025, in order to obtain funding and permit approvals. Staff recommends approving the extension of the amended contract closing date to allow the buyer more time to complete the pre-development activities as indicated in Exhibit B of the contract. I'd be happy to address any questions at this time.
Are there any questions from the council? Hearing none, thank you. Do we have consent?
Yes.
Sure.
We have consent on agenda item 2.1. Agenda item 2.2.
Opt out of providing the 80% to 120% AMI missing middle property tax exemption and adopt Resolution 24-19.
Dylan Mayo, Acting Housing Manager. Live Local Act allows for rental properties with 71 units or more that provide housing to people earning between 80 and 120% AMI within a metropolitan statistical area to be exempt from ad valorem property taxes. Beginning with the 2025 tax roll, local taxing authorities will have the option to opt out of this exemption. The opt-out provision is available if the most current Schimberg Center for Housing Studies annual report identifies a surplus of affordable and available units in the area. The most recent Schimberg report indicates that there is a surplus of available affordable units within the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater MSA, and this is for households that meet the income requirements of 80 to 120% of area median income. Based on this finding, the City of Clearwater is eligible to exercise this opt-out. If the resolution is approved, the city will choose not to, if the resolution is approved, the city will choose not to grant the exemption for eligible properties and will request that Pinellas County Property Appraiser does not provide the exemption. This resolution will apply to all ad valorem property taxes levied by Pinellas County for properties located within the City of Clearwater municipal boundaries and meet the specific requirements. If adopted, the resolution will take effect on January 1st of 2025 and will expire January 1st of 2026. Happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions from the council? Discussion?
I do have a couple. I know we've discussed this for a little while, and it was identified that we're not being a pioneer in this direction that we're moving. Can you just discuss to us and for the record what other municipalities and counties are already moving in that direction?
Sure, yeah. Pinellas County has submitted for this property tax exemption. That's the one that I know of right now. I'd have to look. I can get you that information on Thursday. Perfect. As far as any others.
City Attorney?
Just to add to that, I think just yesterday, the Tampa Bay Times had an article discussing City of Seminole, and they were also discussing that in the media. So I don't know what others, but that was mentioned in the media.
Mayor, this is something that was discussed at the City Managers Consortium monthly meetings, and it was a majority of the municipalities that are contemplating doing this and submitting for their second meeting in December. So.
Okay, any further discussion? We don't have consent on this one, so thank you, appreciate it. Agenda item 3.1.
Authorize purchase order to S.J. Patterson Company, LLC for T.D. Williamson steel pipeline tapping machine.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Alex Leon. I'm the Assistant Director for the Gas Department. This is seeking your approval of the purchase order of our steel tapping equipment. This equipment comes essentially in three pieces: the tapping equipment, the isolation valve, and the isolation plug. This will go to replace our ancient equipment that is over 30 years old, and it's no longer sealing properly. and so it needs to be replaced as a result of that. Besides that, I'll take any questions, actually.
Any questions from the council on agenda item 3.1? No questions, do we have consent?
Sure.
We have consent on agenda item 3.1. Agenda item 3.2.
Authorize a purchase order to Trillium Transportation Fuels LLC of Houston, Texas, to provide electronic monitoring services.
Again, Alex Leon, Assistant Director for the Gas Department. This is a PO to, this is for the lowest, most responsible bidder. It will be a PO awarded to Trillium for the monitoring, one-year contract monitoring of our CNG stations, both maintenance and monitoring, remote monitoring for our Hercules stations, and also covers the maintenance for both our stations and Hercules, and as well as the transfer station, with the option to renew for 3 years.
Any questions from the council on this agenda item? Do we have, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, so what exactly is this monitoring? Is that just in the stations that we have for trucks coming in and going out?
Correct. So the Hercules station has two natural gas compressors. The compressors have a lot of sensors, both for the monitoring the gas pressure, all the internal systems of the actual compressors themselves. Those are able to remote monitor them. A lot of times, if there's a fault on some issues with the compressors, this vendor is able to remotely diagnose, and a lot of times be able to fix that remotely, as opposed to sending someone on site. If that fails, then obviously we have our people that can go on site, put hands on, as well as them being the vendor being deployed to assist us with that work.
Didn't we, well, I think it was probably a few years ago, didn't we replace some pumps there because you couldn't get the parts like for a year, or we went to a different manufacturer or something?
So, right, so this station was recently, when I say recently upgraded, I mean about a year and a half ago or so, we had 2 new compressors were installed.
Yes.
And these are the new compressors that are being installed. These compressors, they need regular maintenance as anything else. And this monitoring, they're essentially, the newer ones obviously essentially are more sensors, essentially more sensors that need to be monitored. The old ones were old and they didn't have that ability or capabilities. These do. And it just saves us a lot of time and effort to be able to have this part of the package.
Okay. So this is $115,000 a year with a 3-year.
$115,000 for 1 year with the option to renew for 3 years. And this will cover both stations.
Oh, okay, all right.
Monthly maintenance as well as the remote monitoring for the one
Okay.
station.
Good.
Yep.
Any other questions? Do we have consent on agenda item 3.2?
Yep.
We have consent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 4.1.
Approve a purchase order to Metropolitan Life Insurance Company doing business as MetLife for life insurance premiums for City Basic Life, classified non-stamp life, and stamp supplemental.
Good afternoon, Jill Paul, HR Manager. This item is a request to approve a purchase order to MetLife Insurance Company for city and employee paid life and long-term disability benefits in the amount of $849,000. This is for a 3-year period pursuant to RFP 60-24. The requested amount has increased based on projected increases in employee salaries over the 3-year period. The city provides life insurance to full-time employees and long-term disability to those who are not enrolled in the city pension plan. The coverage provided is as follows. Classified non-SAMP in the amount of 1.5 times the employee's annual salary, base not to exceed $50,000. SAMP Life in the amount equivalent to 1 times the employee annual base salary. Voluntary SAMP Supplemental Life in incremental amounts of $50,000 not to exceed $500,000 with premium payroll deducted from the employee's salary. Basic life insurance in the amount of $2,500 for all employees except classified non-SAMP. Basic life insurance in the amount of $1,000 for grandfathered retirees. Those who are categorized as grandfathered retired prior to October 1st, 2008. Long-term disability insurance for those employees who do not participate in the pension plan. Any questions?
Questions from the council on this agenda? Okay. Do we have consent on 4.1?
Yep.
We have consent. Agenda item 4.2.
Approve the collective bargaining agreement as negotiated between the City of Clearwater and Fraternal Order of Police Clearwater Officers Bargaining Unit Lodge 10.
Good afternoon. Tiffany Macris, HR Director, and the current collective bargaining agreement between the City of Clearwater and FOP officers expired September 30th of this year. So I am pleased to share with you that we have reached a tentative agreement for a new 3-year agreement, which was ratified by the membership on November 13th last month. So in this agreement, the first year will bring the bargaining unit to the 75th percentile in year 1 and would be retroactive to the beginning of this fiscal year. So what that equates to is a 12% increase for officers, 8% increase for police service technician supervisor, and 8% increase for police service technicians. In year 2, we'll have a 4% general wage increase and 4% range adjustment for all classifications. We'll maintain the current step structure, which is an average of about 3.75%, and then we'll follow same for year 3 with a 3% general wage increase, 3% range adjustment for all classifications, and as well as maintaining the current step structure. There are several other changes that were provided to you in a 3-page summary document. I'd be happy to review them, but thought just for brevity's sake, unless there were questions, I would just let you know that this item aligns with our strategic priority of superior customer service and be happy to take any questions.
Appreciate that, yeah. Of course, we've been involved in the process here, and so we've had the materials to look at and examine, so appreciate you keeping your report short. So are there any questions, comments, council? If none, do we have consent on 4.2?
Yes.
We have consent. Agenda item 4.3.
Approve the collective bargaining agreement as negotiated between the City of Clearwater and Fraternal Order of Police Clearwater Supervisors Bargaining Unit for fiscal years 2024, 2025, 2025, 2026 through 2026, 2027.
Hello again. So this is for the City of Clearwater and FOP supervisors. Collective bargaining agreement also expired September 30th of this year. Again, happy to report that a tentative agreement was reached for a new 3-year agreement, which was ratified by their membership November 13th. This agreement will bring the FOP supervisors to the 75th percentile in year 1, also retroactive back to the beginning of this fiscal year. That equates to about a 15% increase for sergeants and 5% increase for lieutenants. Year 2 and year 3 match the previous agreement with the 4% wage increase, 4% wage adjustment for all classifications. It maintains the step structure of 4% for year 2. For year 3, it's a 3% general wage increase, 3% range adjustment for all classifications, and it maintains the step structure of 4%. Also provided was a summary of the additional changes that were provided in the contract, and this item also aligns with our strategic priority of superior customer service, or public service. And again, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions from the council? Comments? Do we have consent on 4.2?
Yep.
3.
Yes.
Excuse me. We have consent on 4.3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5.1.
Authorize an increase to the purchase order with Rock Capital Sound Corporation, doing business as RCS Corporation, for event production services.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Art Cater, Parks and Recreation Director. On July 23rd, 24, the council approved a purchase order with Rock Capital Sound Corporation to provide event production services such as lighting, audio, backline equipment, and generators to produce special events throughout the year for a total of $150,000 per year. With new events that are being planned for Coachman Park, most notably the last Fridays, staff is requesting an increase of this purchase order from $150,000 to $200,000 per year with 4 one-year renewal options. Available to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions on 5.1? Councilmember Menino?
Just a quick comment. Glad you
Yes.
found your voice.
Yes, I'm glad I got it back.
Welcome back.
I got a backup today just in case it goes on me, so.
I'm familiar with Rock Capital Sound Corporation. They do a professional job. They're very good at what they do. I've witnessed them out at Reggae Rise Up for several years. Their ability to execute events is high quality. So Yeah,
Thank you.
you for bringing
Yeah.
that to us.
We found them to be true, that to be true with the limited time we've had them.
I would
Yes.
agree.
Any other questions, comments on 5.1? Do we have consent on 5.1?
Yep.
We have consent on agenda item 5.1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5.2.
Approve an increase existing purchase orders with Pete and Ron's Tree Service, O'Neill's Tree Service, and treesforyou.com for additional tree care services.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, City Management. I'm Matthew Anderson, Parks and Recreation Assistant Director. The item before you is to increase our existing purchase order for tree care services. As you know, Hurricanes Helene and Milton back-to-back did significant damage to our urban canopy. We've been utilizing these contractors to mitigate hazards throughout our right-of-ways, parks, and city properties. And the increase to this by $900,000 will allow us to continue this work so that we can make sure that our canopy is safe for our residents and visitors. So I'll be glad to answer any questions at this time.
Vice Mayor?
So, any of this FEMA refunded?
We have been working with Tetra Tech. Obviously, there's no guarantees on reimbursement, but we are working with Tetra Tech, following the process, utilizing the forms to make sure that we have every opportunity to get as much reimbursement as possible.
Okay. Good.
So, if we could, keep the noise down in the back for us, that would help us a lot. Thank you. Okay, any questions on this agenda item? Further questions on this agenda item? If not, do we have consent on 5.2? Yes. We have consent on agenda item 5.2.
Yep.
Thank you. Agenda item 5.3.
Approve amendment to the Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Article 2, Section 22.24, to correct the name of McKay Playfield to McKay Park, change the operating hours of McKay Park from closed between sunset and sunrise to close between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m., and add 6 additional parks.
This item was brought before your attention last month, and we had some last-minute corrections we needed to make, and so we pulled it from the agenda. All the adjustments have been made. Chapter 22, Section 2224 regulates the opening and the closing of the items or the times for our parks. Due to the renovations of McKay Park, we're recommending that the hours of the park be from 9 p.m. or closed from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. In addition, the proposed ordinance also updated by adding 5 of parks that we already had, but they were not listed in the ordinance. We wanted to put them there so that we could be able to enforce any laws if anybody was breaking the times that they were not supposed to. These 5 parks include the Bayshore Trail, North Betty Lane Neighborhood Park, Lake Chautauqua Equestrian Park and Nature Preserve, McLennan Circle Park, and Rainbow Drive Park, all to be closed from sunset to sunrise. And we also added one additional new park, which is the Mercado, which we're recommending closed from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. With that, I'm available to answer your questions.
Any questions or comments on 5.3? Okay. Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5.4.
Authorize guaranteed maximum price proposal to Keystone Excavators for renovations and improvements of State Street Park.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, City Management. Matthew Anderson, Parks and Rec Assistant Director. The item before you is to finalize the renovations to State Street Park that we've been working on. We've been working for several years with Spring Branch Neighborhood Association, with our professional services provider to design a park, and we're finally ready to implement it. There is ARPA funding involved in this. There's a $500,000 increase from Penny for Pinellas, and there's also general fund dollars involved in this. The biggest thing about this is we want to bring this park to life. It's going to provide safe access to the park via sidewalk on North Betty Lane, a crosswalk across Betty Lane. We've got ADA accessible trails, bridges. We've also done stormwater improvements that will help the overall area, and it'll also allow us in the future to install a parking lot and a picnic pavilion. The volumes for the pond is large enough to allow that future growth. So those are the big highlights of this project, and if there's any further questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Yes, Member Menino.
I have a quick question. I was out there for part of the big cleanup.
Yes, sir.
I know the neighborhood is really excited about the park and trying to keep it as natural as possible. There were some questions about the coding that's put on some of the trees. Some have X's, some just have dots. Is there a way to communicate to the residents what means come down, what means trim?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so an X means the tree will be removed. The dots is pruning. So some of that could be overlap from the tree care services that's going on. So throughout the city, almost all of our parks have dots and X's. The X's means the tree was damaged beyond repair from the storm. The dots means that there's limbs hanging in them that are large enough that it's hazardous. So that'll lets the contractor know where to work, and also allows our staff to go back and verify that the work was done. There are some trees being removed. There was an inventory done on the park by a certified arborist, Alan Mayberry, who's been around for years. He did the inventory and the preservation plan. We adjusted trails to allow for minimal effects to trees in the park. But obviously you have trees that rated poorly or potential hazards to patrons of the park that will have to be removed. What we are doing is we're going to be removing them using a forestry mulcher versus cutting them down so we don't damage the roots around them to the other trees. So we'll basically remove the tree. It'll put that tree back into the park. That organic material will help produce more soil for the park and the other plants and trees. So even though the tree's coming down, it will be able to be a vital part of making that a successful park by improving the soil. So
Thank you. So that means you're going to save that beautiful pecan tree that had the 2 dots on it. That'll be
if it's
trimmed.
got dots, it's only
got
getting
dots.
pruned. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Question, thanks. Anybody else? Okay, do we have consent on 6.4?
Yes.
Excuse me, 5.4. We have consent on agenda item 5.4. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 6.1.
Authorize a purchase order with St. Petersburg College for Clearwater Police Department and Clearwater Fire Rescue for Police Academy sponsorships, paramedic training program, and ongoing advanced training.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council, City Manager. I am Meg Hasty, the Services Lieutenant at the Clearwater Police Department. I'm here today seeking approval and consent for a total of $160,000 collectively on behalf of the Police Department and the Fire Department for sponsorships and advanced training through the St. Petersburg College. In recent years, recruiting and hiring quality candidates for the position of police officer and firefighter paramedic has become increasingly difficult. We are often finding ourselves in competition with area agencies for the same candidates. In an effort to stay in line with our neighboring agencies, we began offering new candidates sponsorships through both the Police Academy, Paramedic School at St. Petersburg College, as well as the Police Academy. Clearwater Police is requesting $100,000 of these funds. In the past 2 years, Clearwater Police sponsored a total of 21 candidates through the Police Academy. In fiscal year 2025, we anticipate sponsoring 16 new candidates, costing a total of $80,000. The remaining $20,000 will be utilized to send existing officers to attend advanced specialized training classes at St. Pete College. Clearwater Fire Department is requesting the other $60,000. Last year, the fire department sent 14 new EMTs through this program. In fiscal year 2025, they anticipate sponsoring 8 new EMTs through the paramedic school at St. Pete College, costing a total of $42,000. The remaining $18,000 will be utilized to send existing fire department personnel to attend advanced specialized training at St. Pete College. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the council? Hearing none, do we have consent?
Yes.
We have
Yep.
consent on agenda item 6.1. Thank you. Agenda item 7.1.
Approve a community aesthetic features agreement between the City of Clearwater and Florida Department of Transportation for a local identification marker and on a new pedestrian overpass bridge on State Road 60.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Anna Helen, Transportation Division Manager for Public Works. The pedestrian overpass at State Road 60, Courtney Campbell Causeway Trail, to be constructed by FDOT, offers the opportunity for aesthetic lighting features and branding, serving as a guide to customers and visitors, in addition to increasing public recognition and community pride in the city. On March 18th, 2024, City Council approved a locally funded agreement between FDOT and the City of Clearwater for the construction of aesthetic features on the proposed pedestrian overpass and approved the memorandum of agreement for its maintenance. The Community Aesthetic Features Agreement is a requirement for aesthetic features installed in FDOT right-of-way, and it requires a deposit of $15,000 to restore the right-of-way to its original condition when needed. By adopting Resolution 2414, City Council is approving the CAFA and the information contained within. Please let me know if I can answer any questions.
Councilmember Teixeira.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So the lighting and the branding is basically just a lighted welcome to Clearwater sign? Is that what we're talking about?
It's aesthetic lighting features, so similar to the Skyway Bridge. It's to enhance the bridge itself. So it's lighting strands that will enhance the looks of the bridge.
Okay.
Unlike, I will say, unlike the Skyway Bridge, it does not change color, so it's one specific color for what we're
Okay.
doing.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have consent on 7.1?
Council, this actually has a resolution attached to it, so it will not be on
Okay.
consent.
All right. That will move to agenda item 7.2.
Approve a purchase order extension and increase with 2T Systems of Indianapolis for parking violation permit processing collection agency services.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeremy Alshouse, Parking Manager with the Public Works Department. This item seeks to extend our current ticketing and permit software. It was originally with, we did RFP back in 2019, awarded this company. As per the RFP, we had some extra time left on the table, so instead of going back to the drawing board, we're able to renew it at the 2019 prices, which is going to save us money. So that's why we're here. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody have about that.
Okay, any questions? Councilmember
Just a
Teixeira.
comment, it's not something I hear every day, 2019 prices, right? We're always hearing 20% increase, 50% increase, so it was something that just, something that's very nice to hear, 2019 prices.
We got lucky.
Very, very, thank you.
Other questions? Do we have consent on this agenda item?
Yep.
We have consent on agenda item 7.2. Thank you. Agenda item 7.3.
Ratify and confirm a purchase order to Tip Top Tree Experts for emergency tree services.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, City Leadership. I'm Ali Ismalaski with Public Works. This item is for Tip Top Tree Experts in the amount of $111,078. Hurricane Milton was an unprecedented event for the city of Clearwater, and we anticipated lots of tree downs. In preparation for Milton's impact, staff reached out to Tip Top after our other contractors were not available to respond immediately after Milton's passings. They agreed to report post-storm and addressed any tree issues and hazards as we needed. Tip Top spent a couple days removing several trees in the right-of-way, increasing public safety, accessibility for residents, emergency responders, and city staff. After helping Public Works, they spent a week removing many tree hazards in parks and recreation maintained properties. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay. Any questions on 7.3? Seeing none, do we have consent?
Yes.
Okay, we have consent on agenda item 7.3. Thank you. Agenda item 7.4.
Approve a purchase order to MWI Corporation of Tampa, Florida for the purchase of 4 additional MWI CT4 Echo QP4 in centrifugal pumps.
Good afternoon, Mayor,
Jeez.
Council, City Leadership. Ed Wilmus with Stormwater Management. I'm here this afternoon to present to you an item for the purchase of 4 stormwater pumps for North Beach. Without going into the laborious details of this, as you know, we had a series of pumps on the beach that kind of got wet. So we fortunately had 4 ordered prior to the storm. They came in, we placed them in service. We were able to get 4 rental pumps, put those in service as well. These 4 final pumps will replace the 4 rental pumps that we have in service, bringing back to the total of 8 pumps that we feel are necessary to maintain stormwater pumping on North Beach while we move into the next phase of engineering for that project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on this agenda? Seeing none, do we have consent on 7.4?
Yes.
We have consent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 7.5.
Authorize acceptance of the Florida My Government Complimentary Charger Incentive Program.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. I'm Melody and Sustainability Specialist in the Public Works Department. So this item in front of you is seeking your approval for accepting 4 complimentary EV chargers as part of the Ford My Government Complimentary Charger Incentive Program, which we were offered when we purchased EVs with a grant allocation from the Department of Energy's EECBG program earlier. The contract agreement for accepting these chargers includes indemnification language, which requires your approval. This indemnity clause is a standard practice in contracts of this nature. I'll be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
But there's no cost, right?
So there will be small amount of miscellaneous costs involved, such as the discounted software and activation fee for each of the chargers, and cost of installation, which might range from $1,000 to $5,000-ish per unit, depending on the work required at the site. You know, we don't have the exact cost at this point, but we're waiting on quotes from vendors already. But we don't foresee it being a really high amount.
Councilmember Cotton?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have one question in regards to the $19,040 for the software subscriptions. I see that that includes the activation fee, so mine is more so on the software subscription. Is that going to be something that's going to be reoccurring with our strictly EV vehicles, just for the life of the vehicle?
So it's up to us. The software is per year,
Okay.
I believe, and we can stop that anytime
Okay.
we would like. Yeah.
Any other questions? Do we have consent on 7.5?
Yes.
We have consent on agenda 7.5. Thank you, Melanie. Agenda items 8.1.
Approve a purchase order to LubeCorp Florida LLC of Tampa, Florida for the purchase of DAFO fire suppression systems.
Good afternoon, Perry Conson, Fleet Manager. This purchase order will cover the installation of DAFO fire suppression system and LubeCorp automated lubrication systems for the 19 garbage trucks that are on order. By purchasing directly from LubeCorp instead of using an associated piggyback contract, the city expects to have a potential savings of over $100,000 by avoiding other vendor markups and the associated piggyback contracts. Continuing with LubeCorp for DAFO fire suppression systems and automated lubrication systems provides several advantages. Our mechanics are trained to service the system, and we maintain a supply of parts, reducing the need for retraining and stocking new parts, and purchasing alternative greases or pneumatic pumps if we change the systems. Any questions?
Any questions on this agenda item? Seeing none, do we have consent?
Yes.
We have consent on agenda item 8.1. Thank
Thank you.
you. Agenda item 9.1.
Approve 3 federally funded subaward and grant agreements for public assistance support for Hurricane Debbie, Hurricane Helene, and Hurricane Milton.
Good afternoon, Javon Graham, Division Chief Emergency Management. This item before you is actually the way we actually receive our reimbursement through the federal government. By allowing the city manager to get into this agreement allows me to work on the behalf of her and the city so that we can maximize our reimbursements and actually get our refunds for the damages. With that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on agenda item 8.1? Okay, do we have consent?
Yep.
on-
Yes.
We have consent on agenda item 9.1. Thank you. Yeah.
He needs to get up.
Sir, if you can't remain quiet, we're going to have to ask you to leave the meeting. Thank you. Agenda item 10.1.
Approve an increase in proposal with Kokalakis Contracting for repairs to the Clearwater Beach Marina fuel dock caused by Hurricane Helene.
Good afternoon, Council. Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. Hurricane Helene, followed by Hurricane Milton, severely impacted the beach marina reconstruction project and caused significant damage to 2 areas of the docking infrastructure, the fuel dock and the main dock, the fuel dock being vital to our revenue stream during construction. The fuel dock was the location where the commercial fleet is operating during Phase 1 of construction. The damage to this dock was severe and requires 2 to 3 months to repair. The main dock was less damaged and was to be turned over to the contractors for the first phase of construction. Due to the unavailability of the fuel dock, we decided to break the first phase of the project into 2 phases, 1A and 1B. 1A allowed for the commercial fleet the ability to operate off the main dock while the assessment of the fuel dock was completed. Council approved the repair of the main dock on October 28th, and the commercial fleet was able to relocate to the main dock on November 6th. At that time, the west side of the beach marina was turned over to the contractor. If approved, the fuel dock structure will be repaired, and the commercial fleet will move to the fuel dock, and the main dock will be turned over to the contractor for the first phase of the beach marina construction project. The cost of delay in the project has been estimated to be $10,000 per day, and the lost revenue from not having the commercial fleet operating during construction is close to $50,000 per month. We're asking you to approve the repair of the fuel dock for the not-to-exceed price of $460,360. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council on this agenda item? Sir, we're going to ask you to leave, please. We've repeatedly asked you to be quiet, so would you please leave? Yeah.
Thank you, sort of all, to be honest with you. People work hard, they fish. Well, good day. Hold on.
Okay. Any questions on agenda item 10.1? Vice
So
Mayor?
we had talked about this before, and this is something that we're just having to move forward on repairing it so we don't lose revenue and to keep things moving forward on the docks.
Correct, and we've been working with our partners with Tetra Tech to seek FEMA reimbursement for this.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have consent on this
Yep.
agenda item? We have consent on 10.1. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Agenda item 11.1.
Approve work order to McKim & Creed of Clearwater, Florida for the design and construction engineering services of the Fire Flow Hydraulic Improvements Project.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Rich Gardner, Director of Public Utilities. The 2022 Water Master Plan identified the need to upsize approximately 37,500 linear feet of existing water mains to provide the required flows to respective areas and associated fire hydrants. This McKim & Creed engineering work order is for the design and construction management services of 2 of the areas. It includes design, permitting, bidding, and construction management services associated with the water mains upsizing. The work order is in the amount of $643,492 and is estimated to be completed within 300 calendar days. It does not include the construction from the notice to proceed issued by the City of Clearwater. Happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions regarding this agenda item? Seeing none, do we have consent?
Yep.
We have consent on agenda item 11.1. Thank you. Agenda item 12.1.
Ratify and confirm a purchase order Crowder Gulf Joint Venture, Inc. of Mobile, Alabama for Hurricane Milton debris removal.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Kervin Sanemi, Solid Waste Director. Council, Solid Waste is requesting ratification and confirm of a purchase order to Crowder Gulf Joint Venture for the amount of $9,978,878 for debris removal for Hurricane Milton. Any questions, sir?
Any questions from the council? I think we've said this before, but I mean, we've been really pleased with the performance of Crowder, and they've stuck to the contract which they agreed to before the hurricanes came and have delivered it. But most, if not all, this is reimbursable by FEMA,
To our knowledge, most of the debris removal is reimbursable, to the point where we have started our commercials debris also, we think also will be reimbursable.
And I think they've done a really good job of doing it in the right way that makes it more likely that we will get reimbursed for it.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Yeah. So, okay. Do we have consent on this agenda item?
Yes.
We have consent on agenda item 12.1. Thank you. Agenda item 13.1.
Oh, sorry. This was just second readings. I never know why they're under a city attorney, but it is a second reading. Happy to answer any questions.
You have any questions on this agenda? Nope. Okay, good. All right. Item 14, city manager verbal reports.
Nothing, sir.
Item 15, city attorney verbal reports.
Nothing at this time.
Item 16.1, opioid abatement funding advisory board update. Councilmember Teixeira.
So, as you all are aware, I'm on the opiate abatement funding advisory board, and in the last meeting, we received a presentation from Ernst & Young, and it was a report, it was a gap analysis report, and we didn't really delve into it too much. We had 2 new members, and so we've been given a few weeks to digest it. I have sent that full presentation to all of you this morning, as well as ACM Slaughter, because of his previous chief experience, Chief Gandy and Chief Ellers, because I really want to have full understanding of their views on this report before I go back. But for your convenience, I kind of just took out some excerpts for your review. But basically, just so we are all starting at the same page, it was a condition of settlement agreements from thousands of lawsuits against manufacturers, pharmacies, and such. And Florida, because of that, will receive more than $3 billion in funding over the next 2 decades. In 2021, the Florida legislature established a funding framework for how these settlement dollars will flow to counties and cities. So this is how the funding is happening. Pinellas County is slated to receive more than $100 million through 2 sets of funds over the next 18 years. This gap analysis and strategic prioritization focuses on the regional funds which Pinellas County received. As of April 2023, Pinellas County has access to $13 million of the regional funds. And the advisory board, the funding advisory board, or better known as OAFAB, under the authority of the Board of County Commissioners, is responsible for directing the regional settlement funds to make the most significant impact for Pinellas County. And one of our first initiatives was this gap analysis so that we can better be equipped to make decisions on where that funding is gonna happen. This gap analysis and needs assessment report includes findings from multiple research efforts, including analysis of services available across Pinellas County, as well as qualitative research insights. I just wanted to point out, though, as part of this process, they identified 60 organizations that provide services. However, the feedback was only received by less than 20%. So that is something that we need to keep in the back of our mind when looking at these results. The report basically had 16 recommendations, and the community members identified 5 as priorities and 2 more as key enablers. The 5 priorities are as following: increase access to safety and high-quality housing, enhance care coordination and individual level data management, expand the role of peer specialists, which is a very progressive but very challenging initiative, expand harm reduction opportunities, establish long-term funds to pay for the care, and the 2 enablers were identified as reorganizing the coordinating body to establish single point of authority and system-level data governance and data capabilities, basically centering around the thought that there's all these very different prongs of services and being available, but not really one point of access, and no one really is aware of what everybody else is doing. So we did get some promising results in terms of a significant decrease in opioid deaths. However, the data should not be just looked at really quick, because there's a lot of other factors that may alter that number. But anyway, in conclusion, there is hope for Pinellas County as the next chapter unfolds in addressing the opioid epidemic. Recent reductions in fatal overdoses are a testament to the collective leadership of local government, community organizations, and residents. Strategic investments should reinforce this trend. Again, take that with a grain of salt until we really look at some of that data closely. I know that ACM Slaughter has emailed me a few hours ago, and I read it, and he brought up some good points. And I look forward to hearing from Chief Gandy and Ellers and communicating that with the board. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on our first major initiative as a funding board.
Any other questions from the council? I mean, it's been like 5 years ago or so, but a county commissioner at the time told me that there was an area of Clearwater which had the highest rate of opioid overdoses in the county at the time, and I think that's changed over time. I think a lot of that's moved South County, and hopefully not as much as it once was at that time in Clearwater, but that's what I'd be interested in know is what parts of our community are really struggling with this epidemic, you know, and how we can try to advocate for some of the allocation of these funds to those areas of Clearwater that might be struggling with this issue.
It's just not as clear because there's always replacement drugs, right? And then there's the underreporting. So, you know, it's a challenge, but I think everybody on the board is very serious about it, and I'm hopeful.
Okay. Important issue. Thank you for your service on this. That moved to item 17, new business. Any new business? Councilmember Teixeira, you have something to share about an event occurring today?
Yes, our vice mayor's birthday is today, Albritton. And so we would like to honor this special day, Vice Mayor Albritton.
Oh, jeez.
You saying
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you very much. It's amazing, I'm 1 year older.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Well,
And
thank you.
We appreciate you, Vice Mayor, and your continued service to Clearwater after many years of being a resident here, growing up, and we know no one loves Clearwater more than you do. And happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any other new business?
I have a question.
No.
When do you think we will get around to fixing the beach access on North Beach? I drove it last week, and some of them look like they're in better conditions, but there's still a lot of them are just blown away. I was going to try to ask Art that, maybe a Art Cater question, but
Matt Anderson was the gentleman to ask when he was here. He is working on it systematically from south to north. I could certainly get a timetable. There are a variety of them that are in better condition than others, so some might be able to be open quicker. So I'll get an update from him and email you if it's okay.
yeah, if you do that, because I'm getting questions from people on North Beach to have that answered, so thank you.
Well, we're on that too. I am getting a lot of questions about the pier and what our status is on that. It looked like, to me, we had extended the fencing out into the water so that you can't go along the water line up and down the beach at this point now, because there were things dangling from it. It didn't look, frankly, structurally very safe when it didn't extend all the way, but you could just update us on what our status is there.
We're having an internal discussion right now. We have a proposal that's just under $300,000 to do some stabilization, some repairs, but it'll require us to go the CMART route. So we're just discussing that currently right now, and we should have an answer for you relatively quickly. But that would just be repairs to make it safe while we do the permanent ones down the road, which would be more costly. We're trying to evaluate the options with that.
And just an overview of the damage we had. It looked like maybe some of the concrete pillars had been shifted some on some of the supports, and
Yes, sir, and the joists,
the boards missing
support
from the
joists.
side, those things you would expect, and the infrastructure hanging underneath. But it's more, it was significant damage, I think, was the.
Yeah, there's structural support damage that needs to be properly done before we could open it up to the public. But we certainly want to get it open sooner than later, at least for a temporary basis while we vet our options with more permanent repairs.
Okay, any other new business? Okay, with that closing comments, the only comment I wanted to make was I will not be here Thursday night, remind everybody. I'll be in Boston attending a mayor's conference. So, Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
it will be your show.
I'll step up.
So, there you go. With that, I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. We had some great events throughout the city over Thanksgiving, including Turkey Trot, which went off great again. We had a big crowd. I think they said registration was up 20%, I think.
Oh, nice.
So, and perfect weather, a little fog, cool weather was a good thing that day. So we lighted the Christmas tree last night. I joked afterwards with the cold weather, we maybe should have lit the tree on fire to provide a little warmth for the folks there after we were done with Santa and all, but we didn't. We just turned the lights on with a countdown of 10 seconds, which really probably should have been 30 seconds, but we got the lights on and going, and just really starts a great month in Clearwater where we celebrate the holidays, but we really celebrate families and the families that are here in Clearwater that make our city great. So encourage, I know there are a number of holiday events taking place at different rec centers and throughout the city over the next month. Encourage citizens to take advantage of those opportunities. With that, we'll move to item 19 on the agenda, and that is to adjourn. And I hereby adjourn the meeting, the December 2 work session of the Clearwater City